Okay, good evening, everyone. If we can get everyone seated that's going to be seated. Good afternoon. My name is Jason Wells. I'm Executive Director of the San Ysidro Chamber of Commerce. Proud to be here this afternoon. I can't really take credit for all the work here. So to give the person that do the credit, I'd like to introduce Cynthia Nagura. There's Cynthia in the back there. Uh, she's the chair of our Education Collaborative, which I must say is probably our hardest working committee. I've got to slow them down sometimes, but I'm smart enough to just say yes to whatever they want, so that makes it all work. So could I get the rest of the Education Collaborative folks to stand up? I know there's a bunch here somewhere. There you go. Alice. Awesome. And Raquel Marcus Maiden, where are you, Raquel? Oh, Raquel will be our moderator this evening, but I wouldn't recognize her as well. And let me see, just real quick, housekeeping. Obviously, as you came in, you're well aware of the mask situation. Just a reminder, if you do get up and eat, we ask you to keep your masks on. You'll be served whatever you would like, and then when you're seated, you can take off your mask to eat and then put it back on. Okay? And then real quick, this wasn't on anybody's notes, but I wanted to give a shout out to Ms. Vargas' Chief of Staff, Denise Garcia. You got the whole team out here tonight. Can I get the supervisor's team? David Flores, everybody knows, is our community expert. Now he's working environmental issues. So thanks for the team and all of your hard work. And with that, I would like to introduce our host this evening, Dr. Potter. I'm sorry. Yes, Cynthia. Oh, you want me to? Or you have? Oh, okay. Muy buenas noches a todos. El primer grupo a quien di las gracias era el Comité de Educación de la Cámara de Comercio de San Isidro, y su líder, que es Cintia Nagura. Y el segundo grupo a quien presenté era el equipo de la supervisora del condado. También mencioné a Raquel Márquez Maiden, quien va a ser who's the moderator? Que va a moderar la junta de hoy. Ok. Y les recordé con las tapabocas. Si gustan algo comer, por favor pídanlos a los señores que están ahí atrás. Ellos se lo van a dar la comida, a sentarse. Ya se puede quitar la máscara para comer, pero les recuerdo a poner la tapaboca de nuevo. De nuevo. Okay? And let me see. Yes. With that, I would like to introduce our host. Darle gracias a nuestro anfitrión de hoy, Dr. Potter. Dr. Potter, if you'd like to come up. I think you got a few special people you want to recognize.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jason. Welcome, everybody. I'm so honored to graciously and with much gratitude welcome County Supervisor Vargas to our school district. In our minds, you have to know that she is absolutely our town's equity champion. We owe a debt of gratitude for her, for the care and the wonderful wings that she's wrapped around our community to protect our community during the COVID pandemic. She's helped us with COVID testing. She's helped us with COVID health care, with COVID access to vaccines for our school district so we could open in the spring for our children to serve the almost 5,000 children that we have in preschool to 8th grade in our school district and all the way up to the high school. So we sincerely welcome you. We thank you for wrapping your arms around our community, and we're ever so grateful that you care about us. You genuinely care about our community and the people that live in our community. We have 2 governing board members joining us this evening from the San Ysidro School District. The first one that I would like to introduce and thank for being here to support our County Supervisor Vargas and to partner with her and the county is Rosalia Palasigue. Please stand. Mrs. Palasigue has lived in the community for many years. She raised her children in our school district, and she's served as a leader in our district since 2015. We're ever so grateful for her presence here this evening and for her tremendous support of our district. We also welcome and thank Humberto Germilan, who's sitting right there. Wave, Mr. Germilan. Both of these board members are former board presidents in our school district. He joined our school district in 2018, and my goodness, he even jumped out of an airplane for our school district to say, "Go San Ysidro." So you can't get much better than that. He also, we're grateful and appreciative that he serves our county supervisor, Nora Vargas, in the role of press secretary. And then finally, our principal, Principal Bojorquez, he is the rock of San Ysidro. He has educated thousands of children, generations of children, and all to great success. This is his school. He is the principal of San Ysidro Middle School, the former principal of 2 other schools, and we're just ever so grateful. He's also so humble, he'll never tell you he is the principal of the year for both San Diego and Imperial counties. And finally, to the rest of our San Ysidro School District team, would you just stand if you happen to be here? If you're with San Ysidro and part of our district, please stand and just give a big wave. Thank you, San Ysidro. Cynthia Nagura, the San Ysidro Education Committee. Jason, thank you for everything. County Supervisor Vargas, we really appreciate you.
And I'll mention my Raquel and I also were former board presidents here at Tennessee. Very good. All right, with that, you didn't come to hear us talk. So with that, I'm very proud to introduce our speaker this evening. I do not read bios. We elected her based on her bio. I will tell you what she's done since then. And as Dr. Potter said, just been a champion of social equity. You know, when she took office, all we were hearing about was how bad it was in San Ysidro with infection rates. Cuando tomó la protesta, como dicen en México, ¿no? El problema en San Ysidro era puro infecciones. ¿Cuántos tenían COVID? ¿Qué mal estaba? ¿Qué mal estaba? Entra Nora Vargas y su preocupación, su meta, su blanco, era subir el índice de vacunas aquí en San Ysidro, y aquí en San Ysidro tenemos las cifras más altas de todo el condado, de todo el estado. Gracias a su trabajo. I was saying when she took office that all the talk in San Ysidro was about the infection rate, and how bad things were. And when she came in, she said that I'm going to get my people taken care of. And San Diego, like 87%, I think was the last time I heard, but just great statistics, and that it just goes to show her hard work every day and making sure South Bay gets what it should. And so with that, I'm proud to introduce County Supervisor, Vice Chair, Supervisor Nora Vargas.
Muchísimas gracias. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to take off my mask mientras que estoy hablando acá arriba. Me prometo no acercarme a ustedes. I'm going to go ahead and take off my mask while I'm giving you my the update, just because I want to make sure that everybody can hear me and have the information. But I just want to thank the committee for hosting us today, Education Committee, and some of the folks who I actually had a chance to work with when I used to be a trustee at Southwestern College. So thank you for your hard work and dedication to the community of San Ysidro. And I think it's really cool that all of you were former presidents of the San Ysidro School Board. Maybe one of you will be a supervisor someday. But me da muchísimo gusto estar con ustedes. Le quiero dar gracias al comité por haber organizado esta oportunidad de platicar con ustedes y darles un poquito de información de lo que estamos haciendo, porque ahora más que nunca creo que es importante que tengan esta información del condado. Pero sí les quiero dar las gracias por estar aquí. Yo sé que hay muchas cosas que están pasando en la comunidad y muchísimas otras cosas que pudieran estar haciendo. Entonces, el estar aquí y venir por información y poder llevar esa información a las comunidades es sumamente importante. I also want to say that usually, I walk around and I go and chat with people and be able to connect with you a little bit more. Because of social distancing, and because of COVID, we have actually have an opportunity to do this. And so we are actually live via Facebook on both my Facebook Supervisor Nora Vargas and on my personal Facebook page. And so I'm just going to stand here, but if you know me, you're going to think it's weird because usually I walk around and talk to people. But it's better so that people can actually see the presentation and they can hear firsthand what's happening. And part of that is that we know sometimes childcare can become an issue. There's a lot of different reasons why people can't join us in person. And so we want to make sure that this information is recorded and shared with the rest of the community in San Ysidro so that they can actually have access. Entonces, lo que vamos a hacer ahora, voy a hablar un poquito sobre darles más o menos una información sobre lo que está pasando en el condado, pero más que nada quiero informarles que esta presentación la estamos haciendo también por medio de Facebook, por lo cual casi siempre cuando hago presentaciones o platico con ustedes, voy y platico directamente con ustedes. Ahora se me va a hacer un poco más difícil porque tengo la presentación y lo que quiero es que aquellas personas que por alguna razón no pudieron venir, y ya saben que con el COVID pues tenemos que tener mucho cuidado con aquellas personas que son de la tercera edad o personas que no quieren salir, y con tanta cosa de la distancia, ¿verdad?, que tenemos que tener, queríamos tener la oportunidad de que la gente pudiera estar en el Facebook, y así que están en mi Facebook personal y en el del condado para que tengan acceso a la información. All right, and so we are going to do this in English and Spanish, so bear with me, and if I say something wrong, just tell me, okay? Así que bienvenidos a este foro comunitario. Para mí es muy importante tener la oportunidad de estar con ustedes. Did I do that right? I did. Okay. De estar con ustedes ahora. Es importante mencionar que la última vez que estuve con ustedes hablamos de varios temas y traigo varias respuestas para ustedes sobre esos temas, y cuando cuando empecemos a hacer las preguntas les voy a dar un poco más de información. And so I just want to share that the last time I had a pop-up, we met here in San Ysidro, and it was a conversation around our budget. So I have a lot of really good news to share with you and some updates based on the questions that you had from me last time. And I'm going to make sure that we share that information in a little bit. But I want to start off with San Diego County 101 because I think it's really important. I think if anything that what COVID has shown us is that a lot of folks may not know exactly what does the County of San Diego do. So I'm going to just kind of give you a briefing about that, and then we'll head on, talk about my budget priorities, and then we'll talk about, for the district, and talk about some of the initiatives that we're working on for the future. And then what I really want is to make sure I hear from you firsthand about what you need from us. How can we do a better job? What can we do together? What policy initiatives are we looking at? And then share with you some of the cool stuff that we're doing with my amazing, fabulous team that is here, and I'll make sure and introduce all of them in a bit to you. So I wanted to make sure I share and remind people that the County of San Diego was established in 1950, and we have a population of 3.3 million people, and yes, I am the first Latina, the first woman of color, the first immigrant on the San Diego County Board of Supervisors. And so that matters because representation matters, and I'll talk to you about that in a second, right? Es importante mencionar que esta conversación de ahora es no solamente para proveer un poco de información sobre lo que ha pasado desde la última vez que lo vi cuando hablábamos de la presupuesto del Condado de San Diego, todo el trabajo que hemos hecho en los últimos 6 meses, pero más que nada para poder comunicarnos con ustedes sobre qué es lo que hace el Condado de San Diego, porque lo que nos hemos dado cuenta, particularmente durante los últimos 6 meses, es que hay mucha gente que no sabe qué es lo que hace el condado y qué servicios hay en el condado que les pueden ayudar. Entonces, pues primero quiero empezar para comentar pues que el Condado de San Diego fue establecido en 1950 y tiene más de 3.3 millones en cuanto a pópulo en nuestro condado, ¿verdad? 3.3 millones de personas viven en este distrito, en este condado, y yo tengo el gran honor de servir como la primera mujer latina, la primera mujer inmigrante, la primera mujer de color en la Junta de Supervisores, y como siempre comento, la primera mujer fronteriza que está también en la Junta de Supervisores, que tiene mucha, ¿verdad? Es importante reconocer que este distrito, lo dije en español y no lo cambié, se lo quiero a los dos. El distrito 1 es un distrito que incorpora las ciudades de Chula Vista, Coronado, Imperial Beach, National City, Yo represento 630,000 personas en el distrito. 33% de la comunidad es hispana, 46% es anglosajona, 4.7 es afroamericana y 11.9 es asiático-americanos o Pacific Islander que se describe, ¿verdad? Es un distrito que está todo desde, también incluye Point Loma, Coronado, incluye las áreas de todo el sur hasta Otay y pues como ustedes saben, San Isidro. Our district incorporates the city, lo hice backward, ¿verdad? Ya me di cuenta. Our district incorporates the cities of Chula Vista, Coronado, Imperial Beach, National City. I represent exactly 630,000 residents. That's a lot of people, right? And out of those, 33% are Hispanic, 46% are white, African Americans are 4.7%, and Asian American and Pacific Islanders are 11.9%. The communities that I represent are communities all the way from Point Loma, Imperial Beach, San Isidro, Southeast. It's a very, very broad and big region. And so for me, it's really important that when we're looking at our agenda and the work that we're doing, we're really thinking about the long-term implications of the work that we're doing, not only for the communities here in San Isidro, but for the county as a whole. I think all of you know, or may know, that this is the first time that the Board of Supervisors has changed. Most of the members of the Board of Supervisors have served for decades, right? I think most of you know. Supervisor Greg Cox served in this position for 25 years. El supervisor Greg Cox estuvo en esta posición 25 años, por eso fue tan histórico que yo haya ganado esta posición, porque nunca había habido una nueva persona en este lugar, ¿verdad? Somos 5 miembros de la Junta de Supervisores, aquí están las 5 personas. El año pasado, en el 2020, que ganamos yo, la supervisora Tara Lawson-Reamer, que está en el norte de San Diego, y el supervisor Joel Anderson, que está en el centro de San Diego, poquito como está Spring Valley, muchas zonas urbanas, ¿verdad? Nuestro deber como supervisores es encargarnos de la política y legislación, política pública, no política como electoral, ¿verdad? Pero política pública y legislación. Y lo que hacemos cada mes es introducir cartas legislativas, que es como se hacen los cambios en la Junta de Supervisores. Si han oído de que en la Asamblea del Estado o en el gobierno federal hay lo que le llaman legislación, ¿verdad? Que se llaman los bills, ¿verdad? Que así es como pasa legislación. En el condado es diferente, nosotros hacemos unas que se llaman unas cartas legislativas y así es como se hace el cambio político en el condado de San Diego. Y no sé si han dado cuenta que se me hace más fácil el español, entonces empiezo a hablar español y se me olvida terminar el inglés. So I don't know if anybody's noticed that I keep going into Spanish and forgetting to finish my conversation in English. But I want to make sure I don't forget. 4 years of, every supervisor has 4 years in their term, so we can get re-elected twice. So that means we would be able to serve 8 years. And we are in charge of policy and legislation, and the way it works is that we introduce what is called board letters in order to be able to change any type of policy. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But this is the first time in the history of the board that you have 3 board members that have progressive values. This has always been a much more conservative board, and I'm not talking about politics, I'm just telling you how it's been. And so our values are very different about what we're trying to advocate for. And so I think this is important to mention because I talked about this earlier about why representation matters, and as Jason alluded, right, when I first got elected, people were saying, like, in San Ysidro, there's a lot of issues that we need to address in terms of access to healthcare. And to be able to have that opportunity, because I know the community of San Ysidro, right? I've advocated here, I've worked with the community here, I know what some of the challenges and opportunities are of the communities of San Ysidro, and so having that vision and that perspective makes a difference when you're working on policy, etc. And so, para mí es muy importante que ustedes sepan, right? So I'm going to start off with the budget in English. Jesus. All right, so I want to make sure that everybody gets information on the budget. So you all remember that I came here and I talked to you about what we were going to do with the budget. And the budget for the County Board of Supervisors is the biggest budget they've had in many, many decades. $7.23 billion is what our budget is. And our board is responsible for allocating the funding for all the programs in the county of San Diego. And so I'm going to go into each one of them a little bit more, but I want to just share with you. I mean, I'm one of 5 people responsible for $7 billion budget, right? $7.23 billion budget. And that is really critical because your budgets are supposed to be reflective of what your priorities and your values are. And for me, that's really important. And I hope that all of you notice that this particular budget, which was the first progressive budget that we've had in a long, long time on the county, is really reflective of the needs of the community. And so I'll share a little bit more about that with you. Es importante que ustedes sepan que el presupuesto que aprobamos, ¿se acuerdan que yo vine con ustedes y les pregunté qué eran las cosas que les importaban a ustedes, qué era lo que era importante? Y lo que hicimos es aprobar uno de los primeros presupuestos que son más progresistas, se puede decir, de $7.23 billones en el condado de San Diego. Y este es su presupuesto, son 5 personas las que deciden, nomás ocupamos los votos para poder pasar este presupuesto. Es importante anotar que es la primera vez que se da tanto a servicios de salud y menos a otros programas que antes se daban mucho más dinero, ¿no? Quiero informarles, primero en inglés, que this adopted budget, we are really excited about what we were able to do. We were able to allocate $226.9 million for COVID response, which is really critical for this area particularly. We were able to allocate $1.1 million for the Tijuana River Valley, which is, as you know, the issue of the pollution and the contamination has been a big issue in this region. $1.3 million for the Office of Environmental and Climate Justice. I think all of you know, and all of you know that David Flores works as part of my team, and he has been one of the people who's been leading a lot of the efforts around air quality in this community, in this region. And so it continues to be part of my agenda to make sure that our communities can breathe a healthy environment, right? And then we have $12.5 million for a county-wide mobile response team, which I think all of you know that mental health care is one of our priorities. When I was here during the budget hearings that we had, the conversations that we had, the pop-ups, you told me that mental health was a really important issue, and so it's one of our priorities, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then we also talked a lot about, when I was here last time, about the importance of the recent levels of crime that you have seen in the community, in the area, and how you were very concerned about that. And so we have reinvested money specifically in job creation for youth, and making sure that our youth have programs so that they can actually have more opportunities, as well as $500,000 for our boys and men of color, so we can invest in our boys, particularly our Latino and African American boys in the region, so that they have opportunities that otherwise they wouldn't have had. And so we're excited about that. And then I think not the most important thing, but I think one of the things that I think all of you should be very proud of is that the South region, which is the region that I represent, we have 90.1% of the eligible population in the South region has received at least 1 dose of the vaccine, right? So 90.1%. And everybody told us that it couldn't be done, and it was the partnership that we had with all of you that allowed us to have this. And so the other thing that's really important is to mention that San Ysidro, and you all made me so proud, you were the first community out of 25,000 people that reached the 100, what was it, 99.9%? You were the ones that reached it first, but it was all your due diligence, the community, the partnerships with folks like San Ysidro Health Center. My good friend Anna's here today. It was a real community partnership that we did in San Ysidro with Southwestern College and with all of our friends out here, and because of that, we were able to reach the numbers that were really needed in this community. Así que muy orgullosa del trabajo de San Ysidro, y además ahorita al ratito les platico, also share some information about the binational work that we did. I'm happy to share that in a little bit as well, because I think that has really impacted the region. And as you know, we are absolutely a binational community, and this is really important. But es importante mencionar el impacto positivo del presupuesto aprobado del Distrito 1, 226 millones para las respuestas de COVID, que fue muy importante, porque como les comentaba, 90% del pueblo que está elegible ha recibido por lo menos una vacuna en esta comunidad, y eso es muy, muy importante. Hemos podido también distribuir 1.1 millones para el río de Tijuana, que sabemos que la contaminación en esta comunidad ha impactado mucho a toda la región. También sabemos que, como ustedes saben, creamos una nueva oficina de justicia ambiental y climática, 1.3 millones de dólares a esta oficina, y como comentaba David Flores, que trabaja ahora conmigo, que es parte de mi equipo, trabajó por muchos años en esta comunidad con casa familiar para asegurarse que hubiera un mejor clima para nuestras comunidades, ¿verdad? Que sabemos que todavía en la comunidad la gente ha sido impactada por el asma, y aunque estamos muy orgullosos de ser binacionales y estamos muy orgullosos de vivir en la frontera, sabemos que cuando los camiones están y los carros están en horas y horas parados ahí, todos esos gases llegan a nuestras comunidades y a nuestras familias y han impactado mucho a nuestra región. Entonces vamos a hacer todo lo posible. Yo también ahora soy la presidenta del Air Pollution Control District, so I'm the chair of the board of the Air Pollution Control District, y debo de saber cómo traducirlo, pero no sé. Es el comité que se dedica a abogar en contra de la contaminación ambiental, particularmente en las comunidades más impactadas de la región. Entonces estoy muy orgullosa del trabajo que estamos haciendo ahí. Y la otra vez que vine también con ustedes me comentaban que el tema de salud mental era muy importante para ustedes, así que pudimos dar una gran cantidad de dinero a ese programa con un equipo de respuesta de crisis de 12.5 millones de dólares para todo lo que es acceso a salud mental, y eso es importante porque en nuestras comunidades hay mucho trabajo que hacer todavía por eso. Y 50,000 dólares para el programa de niños y hombres de color, porque sabemos que pues, es importante darles oportunidades a nuestros jóvenes, especialmente latinos y afroamericanos, que por muchas razones no han tenido oportunidades en otros temas. Así que muy contenta de que este presupuesto es un presupuesto que refleja los valores de nuestra comunidad y las necesidades que hay, y ahorita pues podemos hablar un poco más de los otros temas. Aquí les quería mencionar qué es lo que hace el condado, y esto es importante porque a veces mucha gente dice, pues, ¿qué hay en el condado? ¿Qué hacen con ese 7.23 billones de dólares? Entonces, en el condado estamos enfocados en todo lo que es el medio ambiente, ¿verdad? O sea, que la calidad de las playas, el trabajo que hacemos con APCD, que les comentaba esta organización, es reducir las emisiones tóxicas en las comunidades. El comité de vivienda y uso de tierra, ellos están encargados de todo, por ejemplo, lo de las moratorias, ¿verdad? De las rentas para las comunidades. Eso es algo que hicimos nosotros como el condado para que no abusaran de las personas que tenían, que por medio de COVID fueron impactados, y para que no tuvieran que salirse de sus casas. Incrementamos espacios verdes para que haya más parques, para que haya más oportunidades. Si saben que en el Tijuana River Valley abrimos un nuevo campamento que nuestras comunidades pueden ir a muy bajo costo, y está bonito el lugar. Yo ya fui y está muy muy bonito, ¿verdad? Para que la gente pueda ir y tener vacaciones o por lo menos despejarse, como dicen, ¿no? En cuanto a salud pública, pues el trabajo que hemos hecho en la respuesta a COVID, prevención de obesidad de menores, seguridad alimenticia para todos. La semana pasada hace 2 o 3 semanas hicimos el programa en contra de hepatitis C, por ejemplo, ¿verdad? Que es uno de los temas más grandes que hay en nuestras comunidades. Mucha gente no sabe que puede tener acceso a esos servicios. Entonces, todos esos programas, las elecciones, ¿verdad? ¿Cuántos de ustedes participan en las elecciones para votar? El condado está encargado de las elecciones. Así que todo este dinero y todas esas oportunidades son cosas que el condado hace directamente. I'm going to go back because I did Spanish before I did English again. And so it's important to know what the county does. I think it's really critical for us to mention that all of these county entities are really focused on, and you can see elections, environment, land use, parks and recreation, public health, public safety, taxes and administration, veteran affairs, right? If you have veterans in your family, it's really important that you know that the county can help and assist you with different programs, et cetera. And, sort of like, if you think about land use and moratorium, what does that mean? Land use and housing, that's where we created the policy, which is one of the strongest eviction moratoriums created in the county of San Diego and in the state to make sure we protect the people who were unjustly being evicted, because we know that through COVID, about 900 people were evicted from their homes, even though the state law says you shouldn't be evicted. And so for us, it was really important to protect people who had been impacted by COVID not to get kicked out of their homes. We do the daily testing. We were able to get additional testing for water quality. So if you like to go to the beach and you don't want to go to, you want to make sure you go to the beach and you're healthy and you're safe, the county makes sure that they do that. The other thing that we do that I think is really important, public health. Of course, we did COVID response, childhood obesity programs. We do CalFresh, right? CalFresh was so important for so many folks in our community, especially in San Ysidro, right? When we had needed access to additional food, particularly where people were losing their jobs or they were on the front lines and it was tough. And so for us, food insecurity is an issue that we address as a county that's extremely important for us. And so, the county does a lot. And so I wanted to just kind of open it up. Before I tell you where we're moving, going in the future, I just wanted to open up for a couple of questions to make sure that I can answer them now. And then we'll come back and finish up the rest of the presentation. Así que lo que vamos a hacer ahora es, Raquel tiene preguntas y yo las puedo contestar y luego volvemos a terminar dándole lo que vamos a esperar ahora que viene los siguientes 6 meses. What do you want to do? Oh. Do you use both? Yeah.
That way.
Oh, I love technology.
And if you have any more questions, we have cards up front. You can still submit them if you want to do follow-ups. But I'm going to start with, and I'm going to translate after I ask the question. Dear Supervisor, how can we know the latest information from your office that concerns San Ysidro? ¿Cómo podemos saber nosotros, cómo podemos informarnos nosotros como miembros de la comunidad acerca de lo que está pasando en su oficina o si tenemos alguna pregunta?
Bueno, gracias por esa pregunta. Primeramente, una de las maneras más fáciles, ok, Marco me está haciendo notas, ahí voy. Varias maneras de cómo pueden participar. Primeramente, por el momento estamos pasando una hoja para que puedan poner su nombre y su información, y así les mandamos datos de la oficina todo el tiempo, ¿no? La otra manera es que pueden ir a supervisornoravargas.com y en supervisora noravargas.com, y ahí hay información y ahí pueden poner su correo electrónico y todo lo demás. La otra cosa es de que es sumamente importante, y al final de la presentación voy a poner mi teléfono de la oficina, porque yo sé que hay mucha gente que no tiene acceso a tecnología o que no tiene acceso a computadoras y eso. Entonces pueden hablar a la oficina y alguien les va a responder, y ahorita les doy el teléfono para que lo tengan. Y si están oyendo en el Facebook, pueden contactarme con cualquiera de los métodos de las plataformas sociales en las cuales yo tengo, que vienen siendo las personales y las del condado, y estamos a sus órdenes. And so, for me, ensuring that people have access to my office and that they were able to help is one of my priorities. I think sometimes there's confusion about what the county does, what the city does, what other entities do. But my job and my team's job is to make sure that we guide you in the right direction. So even if we don't have the answer, we'll connect you to the right folks. And so you can reach me at supervisornoravargas.com. We will also make sure that we give you a phone number, because I know that there's a lot of folks that may not have access to the internet and have challenges to be able to just write all this stuff, that sometimes it gets so complicated. But you can call my office and we will make sure that somebody follows up and responds to your questions. And then last but not least, for the folks that are here, make sure you sign up to our sheet. We try to be very good about not bombarding you with stuff, but I do a newsletter, and we send out information as often as we can to give you updates and where you can reach us. And then just any one of my social media platforms, you can reach me out there. And people think it's weird, but I do respond to all the Instagrams and Facebooks that people send me. It is me. People often ask me if it is me. I'm responding to you, including the people who say nasty things to me. But but I respond to everything, because it's my responsibility and my job as your supervisor to make sure that I'm able to help you. So thank you for that question.
Thank you. And I can attest that she does respond to those social media requests. question refers to some of the things you were talking about in your presentation. How were you able to procure these services for San Ysidro when others could not? We thank you. Esto creo que tiene que ver con lo que estaba presentando anteriormente la supervisora. ¿Cómo es que tú pudiste procurar estos servicios para la comunidad de San Ysidro cuando otros no pudieron? Le queremos dar las gracias.
Gracias, muchas gracias. You know, I think I think it's my commitment to you, right? I mean, from day one when I was on my journey to running for office, and then also meeting with all of you and seeing the data, right? When we first saw the data, specifically around COVID and the vaccines, the data impacting our communities, particularly Latino communities and South County, was really, really bad. And a lot of it had to do with the formulas that were created at the national level, right, by the CDC, things that we had no control over. But in having conversations with the superintendent and with many of you, you told me firsthand what was happening. And we could find solutions, because when people said no at the county, or like, oh, that can't be done, we said, well, let's figure it out how we get it done. And so I will say that I'm really proud of not only my staff, but also county staff, because they were very responsive and open to doing things differently. And I always tell people, right, moving the county is like moving the Titanic, because it's such a huge, this institution has been around for many, many years. But everybody has been so wonderful at understanding that the needs of the community have to be met, because I am committed to making sure that our communities get the resources that they need. And I'm going to keep fighting for you. It's who I am, it's what I do, and it's what I'm going to continue to be doing. Así que para mí es muy importante. Y la pregunta, ¿verdad?, de que cómo le hice, pues primeramente a mí yo no me gusta que me digan que no, no sé, la pregunta no existe en mi vocabulario. Y cuando me decían que no, entonces yo les decía, bueno, y que sí, y si lo hacemos así o si lo hacemos de otra manera. Y quiero dar las gracias yo al condado, porque los trabajadores del condado entendieron que para mí era una prioridad que San Ysidro tuviera los recursos, principalmente porque durante la pandemia nos dimos cuenta pues que las comunidades, particularmente de San Ysidro, la comunidad latina, la comunidad del sur de San Diego, estaba tremendamente impactada. Entonces, la experiencia con la que yo vengo de trabajar en salud pública por más de 25 años creo que ayudó mucho, porque yo sabía que las promotoras funcionan, yo sabía que otros programas para que la gente pueda hablar, que la tecnología va a ser un impacto. Todo eso es el trabajo que yo hacía antes, y poder traer esa información al condado, decir, hay que hacer las cosas diferentes, y ellos nos apoyaron. Hicieron el cambio, fue como hicimos esta primera fase de ayudar lo más que pudimos a la comunidad de San Ysidro, que más lo necesitaba.
Pues muchas gracias. Thank you very much for that. We benefited greatly in our community. Question, what are your 3 top priorities for 2022? ¿Qué son tus prioridades, las 3 prioridades más altas para el 2022?
Yeah, I think that, one of my biggest priorities continues to be that our communities continue to, COVID, healthcare, and economic recovery continues to be one of my top priorities. I think all of you have seen where we are right now when it comes to the different variances. There's still a lot of unknowns around COVID-19 and the impacts that it has had in our communities, mental health, education, and so that continues, and I think it's going to continue to be a priority. I know it's going to continue to be a priority for me in 2022. But parallel to that is the work that we're doing around environmental justice and my environmental justice package, which is really around making sure that people do live in healthier and stronger communities. And what that really means is I want to make sure that people have good air that they can breathe, that they can actually have access to transportation that is accessible to them. I want to make sure that people have opportunity to have gardens and green spaces. We saw that during COVID. It was so tough. If you were rich and you lived in an area full of parks, it was okay for you to be home and you can be going outside to your big yard and stuff. But if you live in an apartment house and you don't have access to those things, then you were confined to being in your apartment complex without having any air and any good quality of life. And so I think for me it's really important that we continue to fight for the environment and equity around environmental justice for us, including the Tijuana River Valley, which is one of my top priorities. And people have been fighting for this issue for years, and I want to make sure we find an answer. And we have $300 million that we're gonna allocate, and that's a big priority. I'm working with the EPA, and we're gonna unite as a community to make sure that we address this, because enough is enough. The community of San Ysidro should not have to wake up and someday smell a horrible smell and air pollution that is horrible for them, because you all deserve to live in a good quality of life, right? I mean, you deserve it, and so it's a priority for me. And then I have this thing that I called, this idea that I called, thriving, not just surviving. And for me, that means that we want to make sure that you all have good jobs, access to good job opportunities. So whatever I can do to fight for additional jobs through green jobs, right? We want to make sure that we continue to make sure that you have housing. So we're going to be introducing some housing pilot programs with the county to make sure that people have access. So we obviously are fighting for the folks who are renting, but I also want people to have access to, the American dream has become very difficult. I remember my grandparents were able to buy a house, and they were construction workers, right? And they had health care, and they were able to survive. And right now, you have to have, the median income in San Diego County is about $90,000. I mean, I don't know how many people make that kind of money. It's a lot of money for you to be able to survive. And so I want to be able to build homes where regular people like us can buy those homes. We can actually live in them. And when you buy a home, you're able to be in a good, go to school, you can have health, or all these different things that matter to all of us. And so my little library program is really important to me. I know that last time I was here, one of the family members that was here told me about their daughter who was really interested in forming a little library in front of her house. So we're working on that and putting that together, because I want to make sure that our kids have the tools that they need, that they're reading, that they're writing, so that they can be competitive to that. So that, I always say to folks, I want them to be the innovators, that they're creating the next, whatever that is, the Facebooks, whatever it is, whatever we don't know that even exists yet. Our kids need to have that opportunity to be able to be the ones that are creating that. And so building for our communities, not just to survive. I want people to have ability to compete for small businesses, for housing, for the things that really matter to them, so that they can have a good quality of life. So we're going to be focusing on that. And, it's just a little bit of I don't know, we can do it, I mean, we got 4 years to really do this work, and we're going to keep pushing. And so, para mí es muy importante que vamos a manejar 3 proyectos, y los traigo aquí en el PowerPoint para responderles. Cuando hablamos de construir comunidades más saludables y pues fuertes, es que estamos hablando de 3 temas que son muy importantes, ¿verdad? Obviamente recuperación de COVID, porque está impactando mucho a las comunidades, y no solamente la salud, pero lo económico también. Para mí es importantísimo. Tenemos recursos que se están enfocando específicamente en las comunidades de negocios pequeños. Vamos a abogar para levantar restricciones en la frontera, porque sabemos que han impactado mucho esta región. Vamos a seguir abogando, como miembro del subcomité del condado, a seguir abogando para que tengamos acceso a los datos de base para hacer las decisiones que tenemos que hacer, que tanto impactan a nuestra comunidad. La recuperación de salud para los residentes de San Ysidro va a ser muy importante, porque sabemos que hay mucha necesidad, y vamos a seguir abogando por eso. Pero lo que yo quiero también es que la comunidad no solamente pueda vivir, pero que también no es nomás como sobrevivir, pero tener una vida, una calidad de vida que sea mucho más positiva, porque es sumamente importante que la gente tenga oportunidades, ¿verdad? Entonces, estamos haciendo diferentes proyectos, como el de las pequeñas bibliotecas, programas de desarrollo económico y otros tipos de programas, y el paquete de justicia ambiental, que es muy importante porque sabemos que las comunidades de San Ysidro en particular han sido impactadas mucho por el Valle de Tijuana y la contaminación, y también por el tema del medio ambiente. Como comentaba antes, sabemos que es importante, la frontera es muy importante para nosotros, pero la calidad del aire en nuestra comunidad ha impactado a nuestras comunidades por muchos años, y ya tenemos la gran oportunidad de hacer algo diferente por este tema. Así que mucho trabajo que hacer, pero yo tengo mucha energía, así que lo vamos a hacer, no pasa nada.
Gracias. Next question. What efforts will be taken to economically revitalize San Ysidro? ¿Qué esfuerzos se van a tomar para revitalizar económicamente a San Ysidro?
Ajá, dije. En parte del programa de ARPA, que fueron el dinero del gobierno federal, viene la expansión de programas específicamente para negocios en todas las comunidades. Entonces yo voy a tener recursos para los pequeños negocios en esta comunidad. Sabemos nosotros que 198 negocios en San Isidro han cerrado ya por medio de COVID. Entonces tenemos que hacer todo lo posible por tratar de volver a crear una apertura para que las personas puedan tener acceso. Una de las propuestas, y se los voy a comentar ahora, que tenemos, voy a ver a Mavi, a ver si me regaña, es que Mavi es mi directora de política pública y no sé si puedo decirlo todavía en público o no, pero lo voy a decir. Vamos a tener una nueva iniciativa que vamos a abogar en el condado de San Diego para las personas que tengan, por ejemplo, las cocinas en sus casas para que puedan vender su producto sin ningún problema y que no los vayan a hacer, para que no vayan a poder crear ningún tipo de multa, ni mucho menos. Entonces, si usted va a querer vender tamales, si quiere vender, no sé, cualquier producto que usted quiera vender, sus galletas, lo que necesite usted hacer para sobrevivir, vamos a poder hacer. Lo que yo quiero es que se empiecen a hacer negocios pequeños, estos, como le llaman, microprogramas, para que la gente pueda tener otras maneras de sobresalir sin que tener que hacer todo, tener pues no sé, un restaurante o algo así, ¿verdad? Y quién sabe, a lo mejor de ahí empieza alguien que después va a tener un restaurante o un negocio que va a impactar. Entonces, estamos tratando de hacer cosas creativas y vamos a tener con Jason y estamos hablando también con diferentes miembros de las comunidades. Vamos a hacer una oficina de desarrollo económico para el condado de San Diego que se va a enfocar específicamente en ayudar a las comunidades, porque la equidad y la transparencia son muy importantes. Entonces vamos a seguir haciendo ese trabajo para que la gente pueda tener oportunidades. And so, when it comes to economic recovery, particularly in San Isidro, one of the things that we're going to be doing is there's a lot of funding that came for the small business grants, and so we also have a couple of other opportunities through the community community, what is it called? Community enhancement programs. And so there's additional funding that we're going to be able to allocate to the communities. We need people to apply for these grants so that we can make sure that we get them. But for the small grants, we want to make sure that we also have an opportunity for people, particularly that have never applied. We have heard the data that we're seeing is a lot of the folks who are Spanish speakers who are in communities like San Ysidro have never applied for some of these grants because they don't even know how to apply, or that people don't even know that they're accessible. So we're going to make sure that people have them. And then the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to make sure we're going to be looking at where we're going to be focusing on different opportunities so that people can actually have access to opportunities, including innovation, and we're going to advocate for additional capital, et cetera, so that people can actually have opportunities. And then last but not least, next month I think we're going to be introducing a board letter that specifically focuses on making sure that people who want to be able to sell like cookies from their homes, or they want to sell tamales, whatever they want to sell from their homes, if they want to cook something that they want to sell, that they're able to be able to do that without being penalized. And we're going to make sure that we follow all the health and human services protocols so that it's safe. But I think, those are just some of the things that we're working on. I think if you have ideas or recommendations, this is the time for you to share those with me and my team, because we really are looking at opportunities to really think about what else could we be doing, microloans. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we're thinking about to help folks. The other thing that I didn't mention, and you probably have a lot of other questions, but I want to make sure that everybody understands that for me, making sure our students are safe is a priority. So economic recovery in our communities doesn't happen without childcare. It doesn't happen without our students having access to testing and to the little mask, and that they're being taken care of. And so I'm working really closely with our superintendents and with all of our educators, because to me it's really important. As a parent, you can't go to work. If you're an essential worker, if you're doing your job, it's really hard to do that if you're worried about your baby, being in school, not being able, if they're going to be safe or not, or your parents or anybody else. And so for me, it's really important that when we talk about economic recovery, childcare is a big portion of it. And so the county of San Diego allocated, I think in the ARPA funding, we allocated over $10 million for childcare. I'm looking at Ruth. And so it was specifically for our communities, and we wanted to make sure that we have that information. And so we're working with the school districts and other providers like the MAC project to make sure that people are actually going after this funding so it can come back into our communities. Entonces, nomás quiero recordar y enfatizar lo importante que es el cuidado de los niños en el programa de recuperación para económica en nuestras comunidades. No se puede hablar de rehabilitación económica en la comunidad, en nuestras comunidades del Distrito 1 si no hablamos de la importancia de cuidar a nuestros niños, a nuestros bebés, porque un padre, pues es muy difícil para un padre irse a trabajar si está preocupado, ¿verdad? Sí tienen que ir y van a trabajar porque tienen que sobrevivir, pero desafortunadamente cuando se tienen que preocupar si su niño va a estar saludable o no, para mí es muy importante que tengan acceso a cubrebocas, a exámenes, que tengan las vacunas que necesitan y lo que necesiten para poder sobresalir, porque los maestros también los tenemos que cuidar para que estén saludables y puedan seguir dando sus clases, porque pues todos sabemos que a nadie nos gusta estar en Zoom. So, nobody likes to be on Zoom all the time, and so we're going to do everything we can so our kids are protected.
Thank you.
You're
Kim,
welcome.
are you ready for another question?
Sure.
All right.
Mavi says I have 8 minutes.
Oh, okay, so
All
I'll get
right.
to this one. This was an important one because I live close by, and so. There's a vacant property at East Bayer and Otay Mesa, vacant property for over 30 years. What can we do to turn it into a vibrant, maybe a community garden, et cetera?
I mean, I think that's the part of the San Ysidro planning, right, group, and being able, I'm looking at David, and Rosa, and I think that we can do work in partnership and collaboration, right? I mean, I think it's really important for us. We are looking at places where we can actually have community gardens, where we are able to do a lot more, housing is another opportunity. It just depends on what the community would like to see and what other partnerships can we create so that people are it's what they need and what they're looking for. And so if you have thoughts or ideas, feel free to reach out to us. I don't get to do eminent domain and just take over properties and just get it done. This is a collaboration that we have to do with people, and I don't get to just say, okay, magical, this is what's going to happen. But I would love to work with all of you to make sure that we put it to good use for our community. Entonces, comentaba de que esta propiedad, como muchas de las otras propiedades, nosotros tenemos ideas, mi equipo y yo estamos trabajando mucho en cómo crear oportunidades, por ejemplo, para más jardines comunitarios, para que la gente tenga acceso a más espacios verdes que le llaman, para poder jugar, para poder estar fuera. Y desafortunadamente, pues no puedo yo nomás llegar y decir así mágicamente yo voy a decidir que este terreno es mío, yo voy a decir lo que se hace, sino que lo que yo puedo hacer es trabajar con todos ustedes para ver qué es lo que mejor funciona para la comunidad y trabajar juntos para ver si podemos hacer un proyecto juntos para salir adelante y que sea un proyecto que beneficie a la comunidad, ya sea viviendas, parques, no sé, lo que la gente necesite, pero es parte de la ciudad de San Diego y es, right, it's in the city of San Diego, so I think we would have to work together with the city to figure out, yeah. But I mean, we can recommend.
We can always give
Oh.
suggestions.
Yes.
I
If I
like
know,
that
if I
idea.
know anything, I know how to organize. So,
This is another kind of environmental question. With respect to pollution of our beaches, what is the county doing to help clean up the ocean? En respecto a la polución de nuestras playas, ¿qué es lo que está haciendo el condado para limpiar nuestro mar?
pues esa pregunta es muy importante porque específicamente, como les comentaba, tenemos el proyecto de las comunidades del medio ambiente que son específicamente enfocándonos en todo lo que son las playas. Por primera vez pudimos obtener recursos para que se pueda hacer es un test, un examen que se hace de la playa para ver si la playa está, si puedes entrar o no puedes entrar. Antes tardaban como 24 horas, no, 48 horas, 3 o 4 días tardaban para poder darte el resultado de si podías o no podías entrar, entonces cerraban las playas, impactaba a todo el mundo, ¿no? Ese es uno. La otra es el trabajo que estamos haciendo, porque pues ahorita el EPA, que es la organización del medio ambiente a nivel federal, acaba de tener una junta este lunes donde hablaban de qué vamos a hacer con los $300 millones que nos dio el Congreso para poder trabajar con todo el problema que tenemos en cuanto a la contaminación en el Valle de Tijuana River Valley, y esas son conversaciones que estamos teniendo ahorita, y lo que estamos haciendo es trabajando juntos para decidir qué vamos a hacer. No hay suficiente dinero para el proyecto que queremos, entonces vamos a ver cómo podemos recaudar fondos adicionales. Aparentemente se ocupan otros 266 millones de dólares para poder hacer el trabajo que se necesita, pero vamos a abogar por él y vamos a hacer todo lo posible. Si lo tenemos que hacer en fases, vamos a seguir comunicando y trabajando con la comunidad para que esto pueda ser ya una solución una vez por todo. Y como saben, en enero yo declaré que el Valle de Tijuana era un problema de contaminación saludable y de la salud, entonces es una crisis en la que nos encontramos y tenemos que cambiarlo. And so one of the things that was really important to me around the environment, I'll start off with saying that we have been able to get testing. Before, it would take about 3 to 4 days for testing to be taking place around our beaches, but now it's been, we've been able to change that, and it's 24 hours, right, where we're able to actually find out if the beaches are safe or not, which is really important for our communities. Beaches closing was a big impact. Many of our kids, it's the only place that they can go sometimes, right? They don't have a lot of opportunities to play outside, etc. And so it was important for me that we continue to advocate for that. We got additional dollars, like I said, $1.1 million for the Tijuana River Valley, which is a pollutant that's absolutely impacting Imperial Beach, Coronado, and the beaches as a whole, including the beaches in Tijuana, right? And so for us, there's $300 million that we're trying to decide where they go. Many of you know that I created a committee that brings together a lot of the stakeholders to make sure that we're addressing how we, once and for all, fix this, because I've been working on this issue 25 years, and I know some of you have been working on it for decades, and so it's time for us to find a solution now, because our communities can't wait any longer, because it is absolutely a public health crisis and we need to address it. We've been told we need another $266 million to get the actual program that we need, but we're gonna find those dollars and we're gonna figure out how we get some solutions to our communities, because we have to start off with doing something with $300 million now. We can't wait. We don't have a lot of time, and our communities have been suffering through this for too long, and it's not okay.
Thank you. So I'm being told to be quick, and I'm going to kind of put some questions together in one, because I know these are kind of related. And these might not be something that the county can do, but maybe you can help us out with this. Most important, what's your plan regarding safety in our area, community, schools? And then can you please hire city employees to pick up trash around San Ysidro? Las preguntas esas son para más bien, no sé si son para el condado, pero vamos a hacerlas de todos modos. ¿Qué es tu plan para asegurar de nuestras comunidades y puedes emplear a personas para que recojan basura en San Ysidro?
Bueno, la seguridad es sumamente importante. En nuestras comunidades estamos monitoreando esto. Sabemos que es importante que haya programas para nuestros jóvenes para que puedan estar seguros después de las escuelas, que tengan trabajos, que tengan oportunidades. Entonces estamos haciendo todo lo posible en el condado por crear esas oportunidades y traer los recursos para que la gente pueda aplicar. Los trabajos verdes que les llaman, del medio ambiente, es un programa que acabamos de empezar. Las aplicaciones todavía no están, pero eso va a ser una de las miles de cosas que vamos a hacer. La otra cosa que podemos hacer es poner presión en la ciudad de San Diego para que cualquier tema que se esté manejando, donde no, pues alguna cosa u otra, poder seguir abogando por ustedes con ellos. Y el alcalde ha sido un gran colaborador con nosotros, entonces yo con todo gusto me encargo de seguir abogando con él y decirle que eso es un tema muy importante para la comunidad y seguir viendo de qué manera podemos ayudar. Porque como saben, en el condado de San Diego nosotros trabajamos con el sheriff, no trabajamos con la ciudad de San Diego, pero yo no creo en que no se puede. Yo creo que tenemos que ver una manera de colaborar para que la gente esté segura. El tema de la basura es un tema muy fuerte. Gracias al gobernador Newsom hay una gran cantidad de recursos en donde estamos yendo a limpiar diferentes lugares. Es un equipo por medio de Caltrans que está yendo y está trabajando. Si me dan la dirección, se la dan a Rosa. Rosa, levanta tu mano. Se la dan a Rosa y nos encargamos exactamente qué comunidades están viendo y podemos hablar con el departamento de Caltrans, porque yo estoy en el comité, uno de los mismos comités que estoy, es el comité de la basura en el estado de California, y soy la representante del condado, específicamente porque nunca creí que iba a hacer eso, pero estoy muy emocionada que tenga la oportunidad de abogar por la comunidad y que traigan más recursos para limpiar las comunidades, especialmente alrededor de todos los freeways, las entradas de los freeways, y eso es una de mis prioridades, así que ese trabajo lo estamos haciendo ya y vamos a hacerlo. So I'll say it really fast in English because I was told time is up. So really quickly, when it comes to security, obviously, you know, there's jurisdictions and the city of San Diego oversees this area. I have a really good partnership with Mayor Todd Gloria, and so I have shared some of your concerns with him, and we'll continue to work with them to see what we can do to make sure that the community feels safe and secure. I will say that one of my commitments is making sure that we have after-school programs, that we have opportunities for our kids so that they are in safe and secure areas, and so we're gonna continue to do that. Childcare, I think, is another important issue because we wanna make sure that kids have somewhere safe to stay after school and they are taken care of. And so we're working on that, and you have my commitment to continue to advocate for that. And last but not least, when it comes to trash, there's an actual title for the committee that I'm on. It's called the Litter Abatement Committee. Like, what it means is that like we get to talk about trash. And I never knew that committee existed, just so you all know. But it's a really cool committee that I serve on with Mayor Blakespear up in North County. And I have the opportunity to sit in this committee and really ensure that Caltrans understands the importance of making sure that our communities are taken care of. So I'm the South Bay representative, and so I'm advocating particularly for picking up trash in different areas across the freeway. So I'm happy if you can share with Rosa the information and the details. We will make sure we put it on our list so that we can get additional resources down here. I do want to say that I'm really grateful to Governor Newsom, because without him and the resources that he's bringing to the county and to the community, we would not be able to get some of these resources, particularly for litter abatement. And then I think I would be remiss if I wouldn't say, so that all of you know, the many of the vaccines that we received in the binational program and in a couple of the other areas, in the churches and other areas, were vaccines that Governor Newsom specifically gave us as a county, separate from what the county was getting. And this was because he knew that equity meant making sure that we had the resources. So if you have a chance, thank Governor Newsom for his leadership, because he really did a fantastic job in making sure that we had access to vaccines. And so I will end with that en español, para decirles que si tienen la oportunidad, mándenle una notita al gobernador Newsom, porque ha trabajado mucho con nosotros para asegurarse que nuestra comunidad tuviera recursos, inclusive vacunas, dinero para todo lo de la basura y otros temas diferentes, si ocupamos seguir trabajando con él, porque yo necesito más recursos para la comunidad. So I need resources for our communities, and I can't do that without the partnership with him and other community members. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And we have a couple questions that we didn't get to, but I'm leaving them with your staff to answer. I know we have our closing remarks by our chairwoman from our education committee. First of all, I'd like to say thank you. And for all of you that are here, I know that sometimes we hear, oh, that's a city issue, that's a county issue, and there's differentiation between both. But I know, and I know this because I've called these people, the staff here on numerous occasions when I need help, and if it's not a county issue, they will direct me to the right person at the city. So don't be afraid to call off to somebody else. It's really that they're trying to collaborate and work with other agencies around our county to make sure that San Ysidro gets the resources. So don't feel that way. Just keep calling. Sorry, guys, I'm giving you more work, but I've worked with these guys in one way or another as a constituent, and they've always been very responsive. So I always call Nora's office first.
Thank you. Well, before I turn it over, and you have to come over here so that they can see you on the Facebook page, and I'll put my mask on in a minute. But I just want to say, really, I want to say thank you. Thank you for all of you for being here today. And thank you for the great work that you do for our community. I am only one representative. I can't do this alone. The only way that we're going to change things and make sure that it's long-term change is if we do it together. The information is behind me in terms of my staff and my team. I have the best team ever. I call them my D1 equity team. And we're here to help. That's our job. We wake up every day to try to figure out how we make our communities better for all of you. So thank you for being here. We really appreciate you. En español rápidamente, muchísimas gracias a todos, al comité, a todos ustedes por habernos acompañado ahora. La información de mi equipo está aquí atrás. Por favor, no dejen de comunicarse con nosotros en lo que podamos ayudarle. Yo lo que sí les quiero pedir es que yo solamente soy una persona, y una persona sola no puede cambiar todas las necesidades que hay en nuestras comunidades. Eso se hace solamente trabajando en colaboración y trabajando juntos con sus ideas. Nadie conoce mejor su comunidad que ustedes, así que estoy a sus órdenes. Me es un honor para mí ser su fiel servidora y esto, lo que se les ofrezca. Ya saben, aquí estamos para ustedes. Muchas gracias.
Very quickly, Nora, we just want to thank you on behalf of San Ysidro School District and our San Ysidro Chamber of Commerce Education Collaborative for coming out here, for spending time, for bringing your whole team with you.
Le queremos las gracias a la señora Nora Vargas, señora Vargas, por estar aquí con nosotros, supervisora, y su staff también por estar aquí de parte del Distrito Escolar de San Isidro y el Comité Educativo de la Cámara de Comercio de San Isidro.
Your presentation was incredible. It was so informative. And for me, it was very sincere. We can really feel, it's one thing to hear that, oh, people care and they're going to take action, but we can really feel that you absolutely mean it, and this has been wonderful just to connect with you.
Y le queremos dar gracias por ser tan sincera con nosotros y realmente traer una presentación muy válida para nuestra comunidad, informarnos, que nos enseña muy bien, que tiene mucha pasión para nuestra comunidad, que no más viene a hablar con nosotros, viene a instruirnos cómo podemos trabajar juntos para mejorar la comunidad.
Thank you.